It's time for us to get into the newspapers and review the stories making the airwaves. And Victoria Bright is a lawyer and entrepreneur. She'll join us later. James Kwabena Bomfe Jr., PhD, is the CEO of Census and a lecturer at UPSA. Along the line, we'll be engaging some other stakeholders via Zoom. But for this morning, we have James Kwabena Bomfe Jr. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, sweetie.
I like calling you Doc. You can't take that away from me. You're welcome to the AM show.
Thank you for having me, and I'm happy to be here.
Okay.
It's always a pleasure to be in the company of you and my good brother, Kojo.
Right. So let's start with your thoughts for us. It's Monday. A lot happened last week leading into the weekend, and it's time for us to hear your thoughts on what caught your attention.
Well, it's a prayer. And a prayer on behalf of the Center for Citizenship, Constitutional and Electoral Systems. That both for both our leaders and citizens alike, we pray that we will have heads to think right, wills to serve well, hearts to care indeed, spirits to discern with the fear of God, and hands to work diligently and faithfully for the advancement and the good of Ghana. That is our prayer. So help us, God, in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit.
Wow. Amen. Thank you for that. It's a great way to start. So, Kojo, I don't know if you have any thoughts to start with, but I have the Ghanaian Times newspaper and BNFC, Business and Financial Times. What do you have?
I have the Daily Graphic and the Republic.
Okay.
So those are the two papers I have.
Right.
Doc also has the Custodian and the Publisher. But I guess that...
I have the Custodian and the Daily Democrat.
Okay. So
There's
maybe...
also the Ghanaian Publisher here in Economy Times, but I'm keeping this for later. Kojo, you want to get started?
But I guess that we'll start with a story on the... Even though we'll give Doc the time to reflect, but maybe he'll add this. A story on the front page of the Daily Graphic. It says, Ghana mourns Daddy Lumba.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that shook the internet on. It was on Saturday. It happened on Saturday, right? Yes. It happened on Saturday, or Friday rather. I've got it. But I mean, this weekend, Ghana had to come out to celebrate the man, and one of his songs, the one that says, "If you see me today, let's be happy because maybe you won't see me again." I heard that Macramo song. I'm told it's Macramo.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That song, it is like the man is communicating to us that well. But this is years ago.
Yeah.
And one thing I have taken from his death is that people have known. Yesterday, I heard Kobe Che make the same point. It is not about that he was rich or poor, but people are focusing on the impact he made. And that struck me that in this world, and my wife told me yesterday that, you see, it's not about what you get. It is about what you do with your life while you're on earth. So how impactful are you to your community, to your country, and to the world? Because tomorrow when you are not here, people will not remember you by the billions you made or by the millions you made, but they will remember you by the impact you had on them. Oh, the way you made them laugh, the way you treated them when they met you, the way you were helpful to them when they needed it, you know. So I think that should be what should guide all of us, that in this life, you have to target leaving a good name, a good legacy. As for money, by the grace of God, we will all get it. But even before you get the money, or when you get the money, you need to make sure that you're using it wisely to impact on the lives of others, because that is what they remember you by when you're no longer there. Daddy Lumba, people say he's in the rank of Michael Jackson. And when you look at it, if the world could sing...
Michael Jackson, huh?
Oh, no, but the caveat is that if the world could understand the Twi language, Lumba would have been there. What his songs are.
For all occasions.
Jesus Christ.
James, what did you think
Well,
when you heard the news of his passing?
It was Saturday.
Okay.
I was in church. And one of my friends, a lady confirmed, I mean, she said, oh, so the news she had is confirmed after all, and that it was all over news portals. I have an attitude towards death.
Yeah.
Maybe because of my personal experiences of experiencing the death of my backbone when I was about 5 or 4.
Okay.
And the fact that my mother died so young. My mother died at 38. And yet, when my mother died, the entirety of Kintampo came to a standstill. And these days, I look back and I'm like, how young she was, and yet she was so impactful. And then I had a kid sister who came after the one who came after me immediately, also died at 29 in 2015. But it is not to say that my senses are deadened towards death. But, you know, that through these experiences and my understanding of scripture somehow in relations to death is that in death is life and in life is death. Life is not so much about its longevity or brevity, but the impact it makes
the death of
on others. Daddy Lumba, Christians, non-Christians, secular, traditional alike, you hear his music. It's not just the lyrics, but the accompanying rhythm and beat. You cannot help but to admire and appreciate. One of his songs, Kumi Huma Nipa, Yasi Nipa Nhunia Maye.
Yeah.
Yentubia, that kind of song. If you don't pay attention to the lyrics and you look at Yentubia, you assume that he's throwing off people. But what he says is that human beings, insatiable as we are, no matter how well I serve you or serve you, a day will come and you say, oh, that's how we are. In gratitude. Don't we do that to God all day?
We do it.
All the time?
We do it.
And also, we must be measured. And for me, in that song, is an important lesson of life. That whatever has a beginning has an end. Emery Yeninkaso. I understand last year he turned 60.
Yes.
And somebody shared something on Facebook, which for me, I said, the man had said his goodbye publicly. And at this stage, the best way to mourn him is what you have started. Let's celebrate him by the legacy he has left through music, the art of music, the songs, the impact, the meaning, and what it should tell us all. That we are here today, tomorrow will be no more. The important question is, how will Kwabena Bomfe be remembered? Whether by Sweetie or by Kojo. And our viewers, I pray that if I will be remembered, it should be in a positive light. No matter how negative I may have conducted myself, there should be something positive about my life that somebody is inspired, young or old alike.
Right.
For me, that's the best way to build Ghana.
Okay, thank you. May the souls of the faithful departed rest and abide under the shadows of the Almighty. I like to just keep it short because I've used a song for Ekutia. You know, he has a lot of songs that's Ekutia, you know, like Papa Post. There's so many of them. So, I mean, I want to remember him for the fun memories I created with his songs. And yeah, so thank you, Daddy Lumba, Kojo Fosu, wherever you are. We appreciate you.
You love his powers in Ekutia.
Oh, I love it. Let's get into the newspapers.
But you've not given, I mean, aside that maybe Doc came here with a different...
No, he did.
Kojo, I said a prayer.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you didn't hear it, maybe I can repeat it for you.
Oh, yes. That's why I got it.
Planned and executed. All right, so let's start from Bawku, right? Because it's in the news again, and governments get tough with Bawku conflict. Now, it's not just about, what's it called? It's now enforcement of peace. And we understand that they've deployed people. They've imposed a curfew from 2 p.m. to 6 a.m. in Bawku, Narugu, and its environs because things are just not the way we thought it should be going, especially because there's that Otumfo's committee that is trying to bring peace back to that place. It's actually on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, and let me get a bit of details on page 3. It says the government is stepping up its approach from peacekeeping to peace enforcement, in Bawku and other affected areas. And the move is as a result of the recent escalation of violence, which could derail the peace-building process. A statement issued in Accra yesterday and signed by Government Communications Minister Felix Kwashifosu said, quote, the Ghana Armed Forces have been deployed to maintain law and order as we intensify curfews to ensure public safety. And it goes on and on. You want to stay with us because in our big stories this morning, we get very incisive with that. Let me just add one more story and then we can discuss. So 3 students shot dead at Bawku, Narugu. 3 students were shot dead in 2 separate incidents on Saturday night at Narugu Senior High School in the Northeast region and Bawku Senior High School. For me, it's just the fact that students have been dragged into this ongoing conflict for me. You know, innocent students who should not be dragged into this issue are here. James, let me hear your thoughts on this. This effort from peacekeeping to peace enforcement, what does it really do for us?
Words.
Words.
They mean so much. They can hurt, they can heal. Properly used, they can serve the good of society. Ill used, it destroys. That is why the good book advises us, I suppose somewhere in Proverbs 18:21, about tact and carefulness with the use of the tongue. Bawku, and by association and involvement, I am humbled to say I'm a Bawku boy.
Oh.
I know Bawku very well. A cosmopolitan town, busy with commercial activities, with good history. Unfortunately, it is the victim of legacies of uncontrolled historical narrative. Cheap, dangerous politics. But worse, the active involvement of the citizens of Bawku. Few, maybe, in chase of dominance and resource control. Why? The people of Bawku have lived together for centuries. Mamprusi, Kusasis, Buzanga, houses, there are even accounts there. That's why I say it's a cosmopolitan place. My good friend, Dr. Deborah, who was one of the few eye specialists in the country that I know, he died not long ago. He had worked there for some time between 20 to 30 years.
Whoa.
He's an Asante, I think from Eastern region. Kojo, the problem is that people have profited. And when I say profit, it's not just in monetary terms. People have come or jumped to power and held on to positions of privilege in our Ghanaian political system at the back of the conflict in Bawku. And, you know, it's early in the morning. It is not good to go back to historical facts, even as recent as the 2024 general elections. The campaign messages. And you see, human beings, sometimes we arrogantly forget that we are human and that we don't control the future. And there is a supreme being, whether you believe it or not, who reigns in the affairs of human beings. Now, what is happening currently? the matter has moved beyond Bawku. Yesterday, somebody shared a story, a news item, Tulaku or somewhere in this near where what is happening in Bawku has triggered shooting incident in Tulaku.
Because of the Bawku?
Bawku, Kusasi Mamprisi. Yes. And you know, the answers are there.
But
the problem...
That Tulaku incident, we understand that, I mean, some other people say the guy stole something, not because of the Bawku. Is that alleged, or we can really... I
heard one of the victims who survived the shooting and was hurt, survived with a wound, say he's a Mamprisi man.
Okay.
And this was not the first time it was happening. I am sure the Kusasis will also have their story to tell.
Okay.
So I'm not making up the story.
Okay.
In fact, the IGP and his team...
And he said the IGP and his team are going there.
They were there.
Yesterday?
They were there. In the news this morning, we reported that they had visited these places. And so let's be careful not to...
Look, the ripple effect is dire. Peace enforcement. I'm sorry. Let our political leaders know that you cannot enforce a forced peace on people.
Really?
You can enforce the mechanisms, the triggers that can ensure that there is peace. But peace cannot be forced. It must be understood. The people must accept. And that's why we say that peace is not necessarily the absence of war. What you can do is to force a situation where you seize ammunitions, you put the force of the state against the warring factions. To what end? Can we be there all the time? We need to go to the roots of these matters. And I say this with all humility. There may be others who know better than I do. There are years of covenants traditionally entered by people. And when you want to go into these issues and you go politically without understanding the cultural underpinnings, the covenants, testaments that were entered centuries ago, and you want to use political expediency of today to solve the problems, they will never get solved.
Does this undermine Otumfuo's efforts to mediate this conflict?
That is the question you should be posing. That government saying that it is going to enforce peace. How is it liaising with the Otumfuo committee? You see, and I want to say this. We should be faithful to our commitments. The role of chiefs in solving traditional matters is understood by the framers of our national constitution, for which reason chieftaincy was guaranteed in the 1992 constitution. You can't solve certain problems with the contemporary methods that we use of governance. So you have appointed Otumfuo. Maybe we have doubts in what the Otumfuo committee is doing, or we are not empowering the Otumfuo committee well enough to go and work. As we speak now, what has become of the chieftaincy secretariat? By sending the Ministry of Chieftaincy or the issues of chieftaincy to the local government ministry. We raised issues about it in a short article. I don't know how government is taking that. But if you are not very careful and you toy with issues related to chieftaincy, you will have issues that are, of dire consequences.
But is it a point that governments over the years, because this is not new, have gotten it wrong, that they haven't been able to, understand the real issues. They haven't been able to know that we need to tackle this issue by getting to the root cause of it, because we've not had that success.
Well, my simple answer would be that sometimes we are not faithful to our commitments. The facts are known. There is been Bawku is been over-researched. There is something that one of my professors instructed that we should work on the possible influence of spiritual power.
Oh, okay.
Invincibility, where people think that they are empowered against gunshots and machetes.
Yeah.
And it emboldens them in a bravado sense to get into this. I mean, it's a hunch that we have that we want to research into. But I have some relations or friendships that I can say in Bawku who have gotten themselves into these situations thinking that they are invincible.
Okay.
You can't touch them. And one of them, unfortunately, was hurt badly that he's currently living with a serious injury that's led to a disability. But straight to your question that have governments not known? I believe they've known. The problem is, have they gathered the will to want to act right? That is why this morning's prayer, we said that God should endow us with the will to serve. Are they willing to take the hard decisions? Sometimes they have made promises that we would do A, B, C, D if you vote for us. They've been voted. If they do A, B, C, D, that will solve the problem. They are going to lose the trust of their those who voted for them. So they are caught in a stalemate. You have the power. The action you take will degenerate the situation or the conflict. If you act opposite, you are going to lose the constituents who voted for you. But that is what will solve the problem. And the entire nation is caught in that quagmire of, political, should I say, maneuver. Because if you maneuver well and maneuver right, it should lead us to some good results. However, these Chaskele kind of politics lead us back into worse situations, or the problem becomes a stalemate.
Okay.
And that, for me, can be solved only when we get sincere with ourselves.
Okay.
It's a good time to welcome Victoria Bright to the News Review this morning. She's a lawyer and entrepreneur. Vicky, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
How was your weekend?
Good, not bad.
Okay.
Sprained toe.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Right. So we started from Daddy Lumbe's passing, and then we went into Bawku and the escalation of tensions over there. And James was just reflecting on that in terms of whether or not governments have failed and how this undermines the efforts of the Otumfuo Mediation Committee and all that. Let's hear your thoughts for us this morning.
On the Bawku conflict or
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, it's very sad. I mean, innocent people have been killed yet again, including an SHS student.
Yeah.
I understand they just went into the school, climbed over the wall.
3 students.
3 students, wow. Climbed over the wall, grabbed the students and just murdered them. And that's what it is, murder pure and simple. I think this thing is really, government has to find a way to crack it, because we just cannot continue like this. The last time we spoke about this, another student had died. Just lying there, people were, dead, lying in the street. I mean, we cannot. It's just not a situation which can continue to be tolerated. And it flares up, then we have the security forces there, the situation seems to be calm, and then, it doesn't hold. Yeah. And we were only talking about this, just a few weeks ago, So for how long will this continue? We need to have a permanent solution to the Bawku crisis, because it's costing too many Ghanaian lives, and also the tensions, tribal tensions. Ghana is not really a country where tribalism is a big thing. We all intermarry. Yeah. We don't care. Muslims, Christians, whatever, we all love each other. We live side by side with each other. this is alien to us, and people need to calm down, because at the end of it, we are all Ghanaians, first and foremost. And people must remember that. You know, what has this achieved? You've killed 3 people. What has it achieved? Has it taken us any further towards achieving anything positive? No, it hasn't. Somebody was in school studying. Their parents thought they were safe. They weren't actually doing anything wrong. They weren't playing truant. And even if they were, they wouldn't deserve that. They were in their dormitory, you know? I mean, if you are not safe as a student in your own dormitory, then what is happening in this country? So they shouldn't do the usual, they go there, come. I know that the military have gone there. I know that the police are also there, but they have to do something more. And government really has to tackle this thing and nip it in the bud first and foremost. I know the security forces are capable of handling this situation, and they must, once and for all. I hear the MP's house was also set ablaze as well. It's just not acceptable. What if there had been people in there? What if someone had died?
Right. Well, interesting times ahead. I want to wrap with the Ghanaian Times so that we can get into your papers as well. There's a story here, railway revamp, key to jobs, trade, connectivity. The Minister of Transport, Mr. Joseph Bukari Nikpe, has charged the newly inaugurated governing board of the Ghana Railway Development Authority to work with professionalism and integrity to revamp the country's deteriorated, because I don't see how effective our railway systems are, railway sector. Actually reminds me of something I was reading this morning. In every corporate boardroom, the spotlight falls on the ceremonial grandeur of the chairperson of the board. Cameras flash, annual reports, blah, blah, blah. Yet hidden in the quiet corridors of power are the true guardians of governance integrity, the committee chairs. They are the unsung architects of oversight, the silent anchors ensuring that the governance structure does not quietly rot from within. And so, I mean, I'm just linking this to the new board, and hopefully they can begin to actually change the status quo for us. What I just read is The Inconvenient Truth from Professor Douglas Boateng, Chartered Director, Industrialization Advocate and Governance Specialist. It's actually in the Daily Graphic, Ojo. You have that paper. Yeah. And it says The Inconvenient Truth. When the silent anchors of boardrooms hold the keys to integrity, yet remain overlooked. And so that's it for the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Please, your reflections on this. Railway, I think there are too many cars in this country, and it's because we don't have a good public transport system, you know. Every day, I can't imagine the number of cars that are imported into this country because nobody wants to take trotro, you know. Here we are, we have a new board that have been inaugurated to sort of help change the narrative of what is our reality in terms of public transport, specifically railway. James, what do you think about this?
I was just trying to look for an article I did in 2007 or 6. Ghana at 50, rethinking the railway system. I think I was then either had just finished my undergrad or I was in final year. And on reflecting on Ghana at 50, I researched at what the transport system does to a growing economy to advance the people. And one of the things I found was that the economies that we say were doing well at the time had reliable transport network and transport systems. How could we not as a people ensure that we had a very good railway system? I was reading a document that said there was to be a golden triangle.
Yeah.
The motorway from the Western region, you should be familiar with that. This motorway was to run to Elubu, and from Elubu to, I think, Hamle, and then from Hamle to, I think, Hamle back to Accra, the motorway. And then there was supposed to be a railway system that would connect the north and the south, extending into our neighboring countries, Côte d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, and then Togo. What has happened to this? And it is so something that we could do over time, especially in the recent times where you have got PPAs, public-private partnerships. If government hasn't got enough money to build it, we could contract, get some private entity that has the money to build for us, run it, recoup their money. They call it build, operate, transfer. So why we are still where we are, and what is sad about UCT is that I love to travel, but I've been reluctant to travel lately to go home because Kumasi, Accra can take you time that someone will leave Accra Kotoka International Airport, why we still call it Kotoka International Airport, I don't know, and get to Heathrow and you have not gotten to Kumasi or Kintampo. 6 hours. You'll be in Heathrow when you leave Accra International Airport. But 6 hours, you should be lucky if you are in Kumasi. And if you are going to travel further to Kintampo, you have a lot of time. But if there was a railway system, reliable, I say people could live in places like Kintampo and work in Accra and go back. It would decongest Accra. We will have less cars on our roads here. We will have less people here fighting over limited houses. So it's possible we could do it, we can do it. Why we are not is the same problem that we are dealing with in Bawku. The problems in Bawku are in Bawku. We can find solutions to them. We are just not committed to them. The problem of getting a strong, reliable, far-reaching railway network is within our doing. But are we committed? Do we want to? We're just not. And sometimes when you hear some of the things, you get crazy that good money is dripping down the line. Contracts that are supposed to be 3.5 million end up on the books $9 million.
Or more.
And where? And the same people meet you and they pretend they have nothing. It's sickening. It's sickening. Railway system, what is it? Why can't we do this?
So do you think the work of this new board that has been inaugurated, do they have their work cut out for them?
Which new board?
There's been the Railway Development Authority. They've inaugurated a new governing board. That is where the stories are.
Let me tell you, the Railway Development Authority is going to cost us money. A lawyer who was recouping money for them, a law firm, contrary to the agreement with that law firm, they fired the law firm. The money that the lawyer was getting for the Railway Development Authority is stuck. The lawyer, if he wins the case in court, is going to take money from the Railway Development Authority. At whose expense? Could you and I? But that authority, have they been briefed on their mandate very well? Are they committed to living the mandate they have been given? 3, do they have key performance indicators? Do they have their own, performance improvement mechanisms to ensure that from time to time they can checkmate themselves? And 3, how many of us, the citizenry, are even aware of what they have been invited to do?
Okay.
So it's not really so much the new names that we give to ourselves or the committees, but a commitment to do right.
Lawyer, you travel around a lot, and I'm sure you've seen how efficient railway systems are to developing economies. We're in a country where, I remember there was a presentation in Parliament about this spine thing that Doc was talking about, how railway we were going to link Ghana with our rail system. I know from Kojo Chrome to Zinsuta, there's a new line that has been built there. We also know about the one Alphonse constructed. But
at the Sky Train, that never materialized.
I have used the train from Asoprochona. Asoprochona is around Sakomono to this place, I think about 3 times.
Oh.
And I've been amazed about how the thing works. There's nothing like traffic. You just
used it recently?
Yes. It was I think last year.
Okay.
Yeah. You know. So for you, if you hear a board has been inaugurated like that, and from what you do know, what is your expectation as a Ghanaian for this particular board?
Well, I mean, I guess my response will be twofold. I'll comment on the board and also the whole railway thing. Effective boards are important. In fact, they are necessary. And this is not something that is a feeling or whatever, a whim. It is something that has been proven to actually affect the how do I put it, the progress of a company, the standing of a company, the success of a company. So the kinds of people we put on our boards, that is so critical. We have a tradition in Ghana of just treating board positions as, just gifts, rewards to political supporters or people who have shown allegiance to a party, a political party. We really can't afford that, and that is one of the reasons why all our SOEs are in a mess. Because if you're lucky, you'll have the right people on the board. But if you have a board of 7 or 9, and only 2 are effective, then effectively there's no point. So I think linking competence and expertise with the appointment of board positions is important. I don't know, I haven't seen the composition of the board members, but I'd like to think that the government has put in place people who can actually do this, because tackling the railway sector is not for the faint-hearted. No. It is not rocket science, but at the same time, you have to have the will and you have to have the understanding to do it, especially in an environment where we are trying to raise money for everything, and to attract the right kinds of people to the country to come and build these systems. So I hope that we have the right people on there. I mean, look, having an effective railway system is now critical for Ghana. Yeah. It's critical. The congestion, as my brother was saying, is insane. I mean, Accra is really so congested. Sometimes I just don't come out of my house because there's so much congestion everywhere, every time, And I think it will help to improve that a lot. And also it will boost economic growth. It will boost economic growth. I mean, look at and ease the tension, the pressure on our roads. We are transporting heavy goods on the road, and that's not, it just puts so much pressure on our road system. So I believe that, bauxite, cocoa, cement, all of them are going on the roads. And these are very heavy duty commodities and minerals. We can't afford to have that. And it will also help to integrate the country, the remotest parts to the, so all this, and people can commute. Everybody doesn't have to live in Accra. Imagine if you could live in Kumasi and work in Accra. You sit on a train, an hour later you're here. That's about, if you live in Kaswa, it will take you longer than an hour to get here. Yeah. So you could be living in Kumasi and working, and working in Accra and going home. Families have been divided because somebody is living somewhere, someone is in Takoradi, and then maybe the husband is working in Accra. And all these things have impact on our economy. So we need to get to that point. Abroad, a lot of people actually live in the suburbs. Yeah. In the suburbs. Yeah. And they commute to work every day.
But it's cheaper there.
And it's cheaper there, and you have more. And some people just don't like, cities. They like living with space and grass and looking at nature and breathing some unpolluted air, for a while. So all these things. And also, it also improves public safety. Because, the number of road accidents that we have in this country is insane. Yeah. It's really not acceptable. And every year it seems to be getting worse. People are just dying. you know, in the fair, I don't have the figures for the first half of this year, but I'm sure we'll all be shocked by it.
Yeah.
Because we keep hearing the stories of people just dying and dying because of this thing. So I think that for all sorts of reasons, we really need it. And also, you know, it's one of the key pillars of the African continental free trade, you know. Yes, the connectivity. And I think it will help us as well by you know, because once you finish Ghana, the next logical thing is to now do it to your closest, even if it's to Togo. Yeah. Because they are our closest, you know, and all that. And before you realize it, you now have the intra-connectivity.
I want to ask the two of you, anybody can take it, but yeah, you take your point. He also does it. So looking at the background you've all laid, the commitment the government has made to, I mean, the big push, you all listen to the budget. Some people have said that should have been in railways. Would you agree that all of those monies, for example, you know, building a railway between Accra and Takoradi?
It's a game changer.
Do you think government should have focused there to pump in more money, get the rail lines working?
The problem we have is that our infrastructural needs are so great. Our infrastructural needs are so heavy that something has to come first, you know. And right now we are relying so heavily on roads. So I can understand why the government is putting the emphasis on roads, but it shouldn't be at the expense of railways. Because for me, that railway connectivity is a game changer. It's a game changer. Even in terms of youth unemployment, you know, kids who are living in Takoradi could find work in Accra and be going home without maybe still living at home for a bit while they gather themselves, without having to get a job that will make sure they have enough money to have accommodation and this and that and the other. So it's a game changer. So as for the railways, I don't think it's a luxury for Ghana. I think it's a necessity. And the sooner we embrace it, the better. And the government, and I hope it's this government, that successfully tackles this railway will forever be thanked by Ghanaians. Because I think they will forever go into history as being one of the most game-changing governments in the history of our nation.
All right. Let me take you back to...
I thought Doc
yes.
You know, I can't help but to read, I think the third or so paragraph from this article I did in 2007. It was published on Ghana Web, January 30, 2007. Could you listen? In 2005, July 2, the Minister of Ports, Harbour and Railways announced some plans to extend the railway system to facilitate economic development. Quote, to begin with, the minister said, $5 million is being sought from the Agricultural Development Bank for feasibility studies. According to the minister, possible projects include Tamale to Bolgatanga and Paga to Burkina Faso, Wenchi, Bole to Wa and Hamile to Burkina Faso. A year after these pronouncements, on March 23, 2006, the minister was heard again saying they had received proposals from a Czech consortium, Czech Republic, which he said would boost the economic potential of Ghana when completed. Here again, he recognized the importance of the railway system to boost the economy. Yet, another feasibility study was expected to be carried out in subsequent weeks through the support of the Czech government. It is interesting why the minister, after recognizing the potential of this railway system to help our nation, would be so slow at getting a proper feasibility study conducted. The routes suggested by the minister clearly show that the larger part of Ghana will be covered. Though mention was not made of the Volta region and Kintampo, the center of Ghana, I think future projections could take care of them. However, why this ministry with all the technical people there has failed after 3 years of expressing the intent to produce a comprehensive feasibility study is a matter of grave concern.
Decades later, we are here.
Now, we are in 2025. Kojo, and we are talking about what, sweetie? What are we talking about? Look, as Vicky rightly pointed out, the government that will be bold enough to just make a possible or a proper railway system, its core focus to deal with the problems in the transport system will forever remain in the hearts of our people. In this article, I talk about the 930 kilometers of railway line that was inherited from the colonial legacy. I mean, that is virtually what we have lived with.
Okay. So, I mean, I want to continue listening, but we have a few minutes to go. And
just before you do that, I just want to add something to my earlier submission, that if the government does not put a comprehensive railway system in the country, it's not going to, their 24-hour economy agenda is not going to happen in an effective way. Okay,
thank you. So, Deputy Minister Designate for Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation took his turn at the vetting committee. And he was asked a question that left many scratching their heads when he answered. I think he was asked, what is coding? I want you to watch for yourself, because the response he gave has come, I mean, it's become very controversial. Some people who are cybersecurity experts and the rest are saying that he wasn't necessarily wrong, but let's take a look at what happened and then we'll speak to the experts.
So my second question is that the NDC's manifesto talks so much about coding, and to the extent that whether you're training people on coding. As Deputy Minister of Communications, I hear it's 1 million people on coding. Do you know what coding is?
Yes, I do.
Kindly tell us what coding is.
Coding is providing training for young men and women in the IT space. Training them in web design, training them in, how to build software and what have you. Basically, this is what coding is, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Well, so that's the response he gave, and like I said, it left many scratching their heads. David Jedu is a cybersecurity expert and director at Cyber One Defense Communication. He thinks that the Minister Designate was not necessarily wrong. Mr. Jedu, thank you for joining us on the AM Show News Review. So, I mean, to the best of our knowledge, coding is not a training, so to speak. But you say that the minister was not wrong. Why do you say that?
All right, thank you, and good morning to our viewers. So we can take it from two angles, the technical aspect on the implementation aspect. So I believe that the minister took it from the implementation aspect, right? So many a times when we are discussing or we are asking, because if you look at where the question came from, it was like, NDC has been talking about coding. So what is this coding? I believe that is where he took it from. So he was actually explaining what the coding and the importance and the benefits of it to the people. So that is where I believe he was coming from. So the technical aspect has its own definition, whilst in the implementation of it, I believe, and that is what the mandate of the minister, to make sure that whatever they are saying is able to come into place or implement it very well. So to my view, critically looking at the video, it's good that we talk about it, then we see experts also speaking about it. But I believe that he was coming from the policy aspect of it, not as the technical aspect.
David, hold on there. Do you know that, as people say, understanding the question is even answering the question in itself? Do you believe that?
Yes, please. Yeah, I do.
Okay, so if you do, and you are in the space, someone asks, what is coding? What would be your answer?
Well, so for me, as a technical person as I am, right, a set of instructions for computers, that's technically, right? But taking it from the context of where the question was asked, right, that NDC has been speaking about coding, made reference of the 1 million coding.
Yeah.
And that, in context of that, is about the training, giving training, and also giving some opportunity to the youth. So I believe that the minister took it from that angle.
No, but if the questioner was asking for the training, aren't you sure he would have referred to the 1 million training and not just to ask the person what is coding?
Yeah, I believe you're right. Yeah, great. But that's what I'm saying, that when it comes to questions like this, I believe that he took it from the implementation aspect, not the technical aspect. That's what I see to what happened that it.
while this has sparked debates in your field, in your industry, I think the responsibility lies on the minister designate to prepare and, articulate clearly whatever it is he came to face the committee for. It doesn't rely on your hands or anybody else to come to his defense, because this is his response to what coding is. He said, coding is providing training for young men and women in the IT space, training them in web design, training them in how to build software. And basically, this is what coding is. I just quoted in verbatim over there. And you're saying that this is a correct answer because of technicalities and implementation?
No, I'm not saying it's a correct answer. If you look at the article I put, I believe that if you have time, you can go to the article where it's stated and looking at where my views came from. That's what I'm saying, that when you look at these things, we have technical and implementation aspect, right? So if you can actually also look at the article that I wrote, of which I'm being called to answer on these. It's not as if nobody's defending the minister. No, I don't speak for him. I speak from the technical aspect. And I'm saying that based on my analysis on what I saw, what was heard, I believe that he came from the implementation aspect, but not the technical aspect. But I've also written almost about 10-minute article on that.
All right. Thank you so much for bringing some clarity on that. That there is David Jedu. He's a cybersecurity expert and director at Cyber One Defense Communication. And we engaged him because this, question and answer has sparked a lot of debate, especially among those who witnessed the vetting period and those in that particular industry. I want to take quick thoughts from you, our guest here on this matter. So what is coding? And the response that we got has sparked debate. Vicky, I saw you shaking your head.
I'm actually shocked.
Yeah.
I'm shocked because, this is someone who's going to be a deputy minister of state. So a minister of state in our country, in a sector that is essential and critical to our national development, particularly going forward. And his party's, the NDC manifesto, is very clear on where it wants to take this sector, to the extent that even the ministry has been renamed, So if you are coming into this sector, this ministry, that is going to pioneer our innovation and our development as a nation, AI and all the rest of it.
Training 1 million people in coding.
And training 1 million young Ghanaians in coding. This for me is very basic. And I don't know why sometimes we shy away from calling a spade a spade. I'm disappointed with Mr. Jedu's responses because he's obviously being cautious. And, and I can understand why. But he's being cautious to the point of, someone like me wondering, why is he here? And I'm not meaning that disrespectfully, but I'm just genuinely trying to understand why he's actually being interviewed on this, because it's important that he educates Ghanaians. Yeah. These are very serious, media. And so when you're on here, it's important that, you have to be aware that what you say may go far. So you've been asked a question, very clear question, about the meaning of coding, and you are talking about training. Yeah. Where is the correlation between the two?
Well.
So I don't really understand it. I'm disappointed. I think the deputy minister designate needs to go and do his homework, but I'm worried because if he's the one going to support Sam George, who is very competent, so far we've seen that he's doing well. I don't know whether the minister is going to operate with one hand behind his back. We do need competence. Is important. We really can't afford anymore to have people who are not qualified to do the jobs they are doing, particularly ones that directly affect our national development. Because for me, I'm into nation building, and so either the minister he just needs to get in with the program, so to speak.
So Mr. Jedu has an article on myjoyline.com, Coding Controversy. Cybersecurity Pro decodes Ghana Deputy Minister's answer, right, wrong, or misunderstood. And that's why we wanted to probe further understand what he sought to do with this
So he wrote that
article.
article.
So he wrote the article, and that's why we were engaging him. And what he's saying is not different from what the article actually says. So, James.
There can be no controversy about coding. It is clear enough, and with my limited understanding of coding, at least with a first degree in computer science, applied computer science, and further training into it, I think that when one asks coding, it's basic, that it is an instruction, technical in nature, that informs machines to perform. It is a programming language. There are varieties of them, or there are differences of them. One would expect that someone who is going into a ministry that is technical in nature should have some basic understanding.
Yeah.
Even if that person is not trained in that area, at least there are technical people in that ministry who would have briefed you ahead of your vetting. And I think if that was done, the answer that he gave would have been a bit better than what he did. As for our friend,
where he had gone to the ministry, some judge had invited him to the ministry before the veteran. I saw a post like
well, so as for our friend, you say he's an expert in
Cybersecurity.
I think he was being politically correct. And that, for me, reminds all of us one thing. It is not enough to know, but the courage to express knowledge is also very critical to nation building. And when appointees come up this way, my first reference point is the appointor. What due diligence was done in making the appointment, and what training was put in place before this person will come and face the public. So it leaves all of us to ask a number of questions. But the most important thing is that we don't expect less from him. This is a challenge to him. He must understand that he's going into a technical ministry and that he must learn on the job. I don't think I was satisfied with the answer he gave. I don't know. I don't know. That's why I was talking about the appointor, the appointing authority.
Yeah. Well, let's just do headlines from your papers. We have to go, but let's let the audience know what...
I would want to telegraph it.
Go ahead,
at the back of Delegate WAFCON, Black Queens stand South Africa to win bronze. So
go Black Queens.
Yeah, to the Black Queens.
Go girls.
What about you, James? What are the stories on your front page?
Minority foils NDC coup in Parliament as Mama Pad backs Apenyo market. And then axle load stations hijacked if we want to decongest our routes, the railway system. And there are too many heavy trucks on our roads. That's why the roads don't last.
Yeah.
All right. Vicky.
I think we've done that already.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vicky, what stories do you have?
Okay, I have the same. Afenyo marking remains in ECOWAS Parliament, and then the Bawku SHS is closed, and the fact that the government have deployed military. And then those are the two main things. On the economy, that was in the publisher.
Okay.
And then in the economy times, government to step up public spending in the second half of 2025, but the total expenditure for the year is cut. Education sector is the biggest beneficiary of Mahama's first 6 months in office, and Islamic banking as a catalyst for Mahama's big push and Feed Ghana initiatives.
Okay.
That's what I have.
That's it. I want to send out this dedication. It says, happy birthday to Yvonne Kwashi Savior of Consilum Law Firm. Do have a great day ahead. This is coming from Nana Kojo. He says that you're a special person and may the Lord bless and increase you in all aspects of your life. So happy birthday. We celebrate you, Yvonne Kwashi Savior of Consilum Law Firm. And that's how we're wrapping up the news review segment on the AM show. Remember, the AM show is sponsored by Syntex Tanks. Those who join us for the conversation, James Kwabena Bomfe Jr., PhD, is the CEO of Census and a lecturer at UPSA. And we also had Victoria Bright. She's a lawyer and entrepreneur, and they join us to review the newspapers. Stay with us. When we return from this breakup, we're bringing you our big stories in a bit.